Dystopia tonight.
Fuck out of town! Fucking treasonous pieces of shit!
Dystopia tonight.
I wanted to make sure I was on time.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, it's
I
fine.
don't
This
want to
is a
ruin.
good use of a lunch break.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah. I feel like lunch breaks are sacred, so I'm like, I don't ever want to interrupt anybody's food. You can eat on here, by the way, because
I
God
am.
knows. Oh, good. No, that's fantastic. I actually have like a bagel I was eating nearby that I snagged briefly, and a cup of coffee, so we're good to go.
See, yeah, you got to have the staples. I had a coffee and I have a smoothie for lunch, which is normal. And so I'm just kind of
Nice.
going to continue to consume. But yeah, I'm excited. It's nice to do that. I sometimes like stream on my lunch break and stuff like this. So this is nothing new. It's totally
Oh,
worth
sweet.
it. It's
Perfect.
nice to be able to do this.
Do you know how hard it is to convince people though that they can like eat and like it started out where like when I started doing this during the we're recording, by the way, just a heads up. I just want to let you know that we're
Oh, okay. Thanks for telling me.
yeah,
Hi.
it's a go. Yeah.
It's committed. Yeah. All right. No,
And I
no
mean, like,
undo.
I edit stuff and do whatever, but I don't edit much out anyway. It's just like, if ever you slip and say something and you're like, hey, by the way, I probably shouldn't have mentioned this, I'll cut it out, no problem. So
Thanks. I appreciate you saying that.
yeah. But yeah, like when I started this during the pandemic, it was just because, I mean, everybody who's listens to this has heard already a million times, but I couldn't tour, blah, blah, blah. So I started doing this stuff and I really enjoyed it. And I started going, we did it live on Twitch, Monday through Thursday, because in my head, I was like, well, I can't do stand up and I have nothing to do at night when my brain wants to do shit. And I was also like, I want to, if it's going to be a live show, like I want it to be exciting and like fun, but like like in the early days, like, wasn't that hard to convince people to like eat and drink on a podcast? And then now that it's like normal life, I'm like, no, you can, have fun, like do whatever you're going to do. Like, it's fine. And they're like, no, I can't, I'm like, all right, whatever.
My comfort always comes first. If I'm hungry, I eat. If I'm thirsty, I drink. If I need to sleep, I sleep. Like those are all priorities more so than making content. But I do enjoy it. So it's nice to do. But I agree. Like we have on our Fire Escape cast, Mike Mahardy, I'm fairly confident has like misophonia. Like he can't stand it. If I have any sip or snack of any kind, he like will mention it. And so I have to be very cognizant of him. But other than that, I'm eating.
I 100% get it. My a guy who was with me in the very beginning, who was producing stuff, he had the same issue. And even before we started working together, we were kind of dabbling and doing other, like I was on other comedians' podcasts, and I would always be like, I had like some kind of bag of candy or whatever it was, and it would just be like, John's fucking eating again on a, and I'm like, oh, sorry, buddy, it's what I do.
Sorry that I want to eat. I don't know. You got to do it. You got to make room for yourself. Now that I'm thinking about it, do you mind if I just really quickly get rid of a blueberry in my tea? Because I can see it.
Go. Absolutely. Go for it.
Okay. I'll be right back.
Hilarious.
Okay. I'm ready.
Awesome. Now I got to ask you, because I just saw your shirt. What is Sad Dads?
It's a band called The National.
Oh my God, of course. Yeah, I love The National, but why don't I know?
I don't know. I think their merch and like a lot of their crew, like the people who listen to them are called Sad Dads, probably because of a lot of them are dads who listen to sad music.
Yeah. I'm the outlier of that, but I love The National, but I'm not a sad. I mean, I think I'm a sad dad at heart. I'm sad for my friends who are dads. I am
a sad dad at heart too. I believe that I've always been a sad dad, and this only confirms my sad dadness.
It's weird that I feel like now as a culture, we're really embracing just how shitty we feel. Like we feel bad, but we act very positive. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So it's like, I think it's a nice balance.
I think that the pendulum swingeth one way and then the other generationally. And we had a generation of men who were not allowed to feel at all and buried all of their feelings about the
Yeah.
war deep down inside
Oh my
for the
God.
worse. And now we're actually having a generation of boys that probably feel that they can have emotions. I don't think that we're fully there yet, but we are
No.
getting to a point where people are allowed to say, I'm going to therapy. And the response to that is good for you. And I think
Yeah.
that's great. Like I hope that we can be at a place where we can say that, but
Yeah. Sometimes
not
it's even like,
not
thank
always.
Christ.
Yeah.
I
Go some more.
well,
Yeah, go not good enough. Yeah, I think we could go harder, but I
yeah.
mean at least we're acknowledging mental health
Oh
this
God.
time around.
It's one of those things that like I feel like I've talked about ad nauseum because I did a short film that was on Amazon Prime for a bit where I just took my experience with depression and stuff like that and had the main character in it manifest itself into a puppet because I'm a big Muppet fan. So I called it
Oh,
Duppet, blah blah blah.
awesome.
And then it was like this thing of like just talking about it constantly. So now I'm like like no matter like whenever I do something and we don't talk about mental health, I'm like, what happened? Do we not have time? Do we not have but yeah, no, it's crazy. I had a girlfriend one time tell me I feel I care too much or feel too much for a dude. And I was just like, I
Mm,
don't know. This was like years ago, but I was like,
yeah.
it stuck with me for a bit. And I was like, is that a bad thing? And then I was like, no,
No,
god
who
damn it.
hurt her? No, feeling is good.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, what the fuck is that about? But it is a weird, yeah.
That's a bummer. You want the people to feel. There's
Yeah.
like something, but I think that type of reaction is also reflective of how when we have a culture where men aren't supposed to feel, that's felt by women too,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
That's the patriarchy in action, which is women are expecting men to be like, you're not allowed to have emotions. Your job is to carry the burden on your shoulders. And it's like, it's
Yeah.
not any more than like any of the other things in our society that should be shared amongst us, like,
Yeah.
bills and opening car doors and caring for each other. All those things are genderless. So let's
Yeah.
all do them, please.
It's amazing how many years they kept us from actually thinking or feeling anything like that. Not allowed to talk about your how much you're making. Not allowed to talk about your religion, out of politics, any of that stuff. And they successfully did it for quite some time until, thankfully, the internet. So one thing I'm thankful for about like social media and the internet, which sometimes I burn out like lately, like way too fast.
Sure. Do you doom scroll?
Oh my, dude,
Oh, do I doom
do I
scroll?
doom scroll?
Oh,
Le-
do I doom scroll?
I just have like just scars on, like this is how many times I just tally it off. Um
I think that there's only so much benefit you observing and ingesting and thinking and stewing does for
yeah,
you. And you are also important. And like the way you express yourself and communicate is really valuable to others. So if you have nothing left to give, you're not only doing a disservice to yourself, you're doing a disservice to people who like to listen to you and
right.
hear what you have to say. So you have to be able to take breaks and accommodate yourself.
I'm gonna clip that and play that on a loop for myself whenever I'm sad.
You deserve a break. Get off the internet, you idiot. Sometimes some people need a little bit of a smack too.
Yeah.
So like, listen here, you ding dong. You get off the internet right now and you go make yourself some berry smoothies or something. Go get some
I love the
fucking
aggressiveness, but also the
yeah.
gentleness of ding dong and then berry smoothies. It's like you're a
Yeah,
moron.
you
Yeah,
gotta
ding
do the
dong.
full gamut. But sometimes I have like streamers who do this where they're just like, I just need someone to yell at me every once in a while, and I'll yell at you. I'll
And
yell at you to do self
yeah.
help.
Oh God, you should charge people for that. Like have an active service. That'd be great. I
Yeah,
would do it.
some kind of strange service where you
Yeah.
call like a 1-800 number, and I'm just like, listen here, you piece of shit.
Yeah.
If you don't eat and have a drink of water, I'm gonna beat your ass. Here I
I know where
come.
you fucking live. Like you text the person a picture of their house and like, holy fucking shit, she's not kidding.
Yeah, you make me sick.
Yeah.
Why are you thinking about your future and retiring? Why aren't you putting away more money?
Oh my God, that's beautiful. So are you seeing anything like, because I know like the TikTok end of it, like I actually don't, this is just gonna show my age and ineptness, but like I can't, like I'll scroll through TikTok and I'll see like just like super young people doing these battles. You know what I mean? Where they're like,
Yeah, yeah, I've seen
and
that.
and I don't like I'm like, sometimes I like scroll through it and I'm like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. And then all of a sudden, like somebody will be winning and I'm like, yeah, man. Like, but I know it doesn't mean anything. But is there
No.
anything like what's going on the Twitch side? Are you guys like seeing the political like buildup of that, like on that side too?
Yeah, definitely. Just to like go back to TikTok for a second, because I think this is
Sure.
important. TikTok has different monetization systems, and those can absolutely impact the way that culture makes content, right? Because if you
Yes.
can make money off of it, if you can monetize it, you're probably going to go down that avenue. The thing that you're seeing where there's like a bar of like who's winning,
Hmm.
in my opinion, is more of a reflection of TikTok's monetization systems than it is culture, because the way that bar moves is by donos. Um, they have
Okay.
their own bits system. Sorry, I don't work for TikTok, so I don't know them as much as like our
Hmm.
monetization systems. But all of that is financially incentivized. So when you're seeing someone who's like, who's pro Biden and who's pro Trump, and they're like asking you to like push the bar,
Yeah.
that's to make money more than it is to make any kind of actual point or focus. They don't
Okay.
really generally care who wins, which is a
Right.
bummer. The point is that they're getting people to give them money, and it actually, to a degree, is functioning. But that's a bad result of
Yeah.
a monetization system that's like kind of gone awry. It should not be about getting as much money out of the system as possible. It should be about driving good intellectual conversation.
Right.
Twitch is also seeing the ramifications of um, politics, and it
Hmm.
will absolutely come up. One of our most broadly viewed political commentators, Hassan Abi,
Yeah.
is blowing up right now, as he usually does. But I mean, this is going to be a really massive time for him. And he essentially can do 8-hour coverage of political commentary, discussing like the RNC's strategy, going over world topics. And it's very popular. And his chat is popping. What I
Hmm.
love to see that Hassan does very well is that he actually interacts with his chat regularly. If someone says, "Why aren't you commenting about JD Vance's latest speech?" Like, you don't give him as much coverage. He will read it, he will respond to it, and he will say, "This is why I'm not covering that like really stupid speech."
Right.
And I will cover everything in good time, but he is having an honest conversation with his audience. So it's very different than watching CNN or a lot of other types of political commentary that you can find easily on the news or on the radio. You watch Twitch because you actually are involved in that conversation. His chat is literally in his stream. So
Yeah.
you're watching chat disagree with him or agree with him in real time, and he will call out chat and respond to them in real time. And that's kind of the magic of live streaming, is like you're in this content. You're not
Right.
just passively watching it. You're involved. And if you say something stupid, he might just call your number. And I think that's what makes it interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that was always the cool dynamic about it. I'm still like, I mean, when I got into the Twitch thing, I didn't know too much about it. I thought it was just originally for video gaming, and that's what people did. And I understand that's like a now a very common misconception, which is cool. I mean, I love like when people play video games, but when I started doing this and we were doing it live, and by the way, I got like probably the worst advice when I switched like over with management and all this other stuff, where they were like, "You're not going live anymore. We need to direct attention to whatever." And I was like, "Ooh, are you sure?" Because yada yada. And they kind of took over some stuff, and then I stopped going live, and I regret it to this fucking day.
Right.
I'm gonna build it back. I mean, like, but anyway, so like, but I loved the chat part of it. Like, I always thought that was like a fascinating way to engage, and it also, I think it's one of the only ones that I've seen it translate to other social media platforms, where like if you engage with people over on Twitch, they're more likely to follow you on like Instagram or wherever else you are, just to see what other content you're popping off on. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting. I don't see that so much with any other platform. So there is a community aspect to it that I genuinely love and miss.
I think that is absolutely true.
Mhm.
And it's shown statistically when people are watching TikTok, they are engaging with average content creators for less than 15 seconds. So, how much can you really know or care about someone when you're observing them make a little statement or do a little dance for less than 15 seconds.
Right.
Our average viewership time is an hour. So we're talking about people who are spending long periods of time with someone, which makes them more likely to actually follow the person, not just on Twitch, but on other platforms. Because when you're watching, Ninja, or you're watching Luality, you're actually like enjoying their content over time, and then you end up seeking them out in other places and following them. So
Absolutely.
it's absolutely true that community is more likely to be bred in long form content. Short form has its own value, right? Like the algorithm is undeniable for short term viewing and your ability to scroll and see lots of different content. When you're talking about long term viewing, Twitch is just kind of where it's at.
Absolutely. And how do you guys like, I mean, so, for most of the stuff for TikTok, for Instagram and everything else, especially for like comedians, I noticed that I feel like when I've gone live on Twitch for anything in particular, even the MS benefit, like I'm more likely to hit either, the audience I kind of want to, or if depending on what you put in, talk show or chat or whatever it is, it'll get out there more. It just feels to me like you guys don't hinder that as much as like Instagram changes it constantly. Like where I know now
Right.
hashtags are suddenly useless. So I'm not getting, nobody's going to be able to see it that isn't like, if your followers don't automatically click on it within a certain amount of time, then it doesn't go out, yada, yada, yada. Was there like an early decision to make sure that you guys don't, do that, like block? Because I feel like I get, random subscribers or random people, or somebody found me because of the way we entered something in, and then they joined in, yada, yada, yada. It's an interesting kind of thing where I don't feel like you're fucking over your content creators.
I appreciate you saying that. I think a lot of it is we spend the majority of our time in the live space. So it's not literally discovery or growing your audience. It's there will always be components of like, how do we help people monetize more? But the main point of where we spend our time and our energy being like, is this working, is in the experience from someone in chat watching a live stream viewer, and whether or not they can enjoy and be a part of that experience. That's where the energy goes. And that's why like a lot of the things that we've created have been duplicated by other platforms, because they're very functional, but it took a lot of testing. And there's a lot of stuff that we did that didn't work, that doesn't exist anymore, because we found that people didn't use it.
Right.
We really hone in on the idea that when you go to Twitch, we don't want you to leave after like going to the bathroom, which is so many people's social media experience.
Right.
You are probably pulling up a chair and staying for a long extended period of time. How do we make you feel like that time was really valuable? I don't actually like think of Instagram as a competitor. I think of Netflix as a competitor. It's like
Instagram. Wow.
It's not short form content. It's
Yeah.
long form. You are there
Right.
for hours. And so it's like, how are we making sure that you're finding someone that you really care about, that you want to spend time with for that long? And how do we like establish those connections in that relationship and like make that really meaningful? It is working, but it takes a really long time. And like I said, there's a lot of stuff that we tried that didn't end up working in the way we wanted it to. And we just continue to innovate in that space.
I'm glad you brought up Netflix and streaming, because it's one of the things I think about constantly, because I think just because of the way the streaming platforms now have kind of, I don't know, I swear to God, they're like going back into basic cable, which is the most
we are. We've gone full circle, haven't we?
It's the same as it ever was shit that like drives me, you know what I mean, like crazy. But like, and not to say that like, streaming platforms are an example of what's to come anyway, but like, do you guys ever feel like producing your own like, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, everybody kind of comes there, but like, are you looking into doing that kind of stuff? Like, I don't know, like, is it something that's on your mind, or do you feel like this is kind of generated by the people, so we don't need to dive into that area?
Generally speaking, you're right.
Okay.
The people are the most innovative. They're the most creative. They make the craziest stuff. The people who are like game changers are the Kai Cenats of the world.
Right.
Kai is doing things at the speed that we wish we could do things. Our ship is too big to turn as fast as Kai can do things. I mean, he's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we do some original content that I think is meant to focus on what we can do really well as a company. We make our own original pieces that are like, so for example, our CEO goes live
Right.
to talk about like the future of Twitch. He'll do that from time to time. We have something called Twitch Rivals, which is our own official Twitch competition show. It's basically like silly esports where you like, have to keep the balloon in the air, or like, really silly stuff. The one where you have to like pour the water in the cup and make
Oh
sure it
yeah.
doesn't dribble over. So we do stuff like that. And the community really likes that kind of stuff. So yes, we also made, in conjunction with a producer, Bernie Sue, we made a show called Artificial, and that won an Emmy for
Nice.
innovative content. So every once in a while. But what I'll say is like, are we known for like Twitch's original shows? No.
Right.
We're known for like what the audience constructs. The only times I feel like Twitch has really gone viral for stuff that we did is, in my opinion, stuff that the community has done. Twitch plays Pokemon.
Yes.
When we played through like all of the Power Ranger series, and chat just went absolutely ape shit of like how the fact that every episode is the exact same, and just
Right.
kind of the virality of things is usually what the community does with it, not what we do with it.
Sure. And that's awesome too, because like it's not that like I particularly want every company to stay in their lane, but it is nice when some company or something like that does something extremely well and they know, and recognize like what makes them unique. Because it's too much of the same sometimes with like Instagram looking like, Instagram's now got Threads, which I appreciate because I think Twitter's a fucking shit show. I bailed as soon as
Twitter
Musk bought it.
scares me.
Yeah.
I like I can't even be on Twitter anymore.
Me neither. And I literally did, like, I had a decent follow. I deleted my Twitter account because I was just like, I just can't do it. And it was just literal poison. And now there's Threads, and Threads is fine, but Threads is slowly inching towards the things that I think made Twitter go the way it went. And I
Is it
don't
like
understand that.
toxicity or like bot accounts and
So
things like that?
I don't notice so much of the bot accounts or anything like that. I do notice that they're now leaning into the same features, and those features I think on Twitter originally are the ones that made the bot accounts possible and made the toxicity possible. And like it's because there's something about people being too aware of each other. You know what I mean? Where it's like obviously like some people follow certain people or whatever, and you don't want to live in a bubble, but it's not up to the company to decide what people see or don't see. But when their page is inundated with tweets or whatever the hell it is that people necessarily didn't follow, I think it fucks them up, and I think it makes them engage in a way that is not who they usually are, and then it makes them kind of because they don't want to see that shit. And I think that's something that's a delicate balance. But now Threads, I see stuff on there that I didn't follow this account, and they're like, oh, but it's shit that makes me
But we
angry.
think you want it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They want the engagement.
Sometimes the engagement algorithm is doing so much additional harm culturally to us, where we are assuming that clicks mean good.
Yeah.
I really worry, and I think a lot of people share this sentiment of how this is impacting really young generations that are seeing that because they've interacted with stuff that they're getting more of it. I've seen reports that on TikTok, the top comments that you will see are not the top comments that I will see. The algorithm is selecting different top comments based on our preferentials and essentially creating bubbles for us, where we're really not actually seeing what the world is. We're seeing what our interpretation of the world is, which is increasing division and creating lots of problems.
Yeah.
We crave authenticity. I don't want to see the top comment that the algorithm thinks I will like. I want to see the top comment.
Right.
And I don't want to see a feed full of stuff that an algorithm determined is very valuable because a lot of people clicked, I hate this.
Sure.
I want to see an algorithm that is finding a way to uplift things that are interesting, but we're breaking down interesting to interactivity. And I don't think that interacting with a post is the same as the post being interesting. You can have an interesting post that is just a thought in the world, and we all look at it and go, what an interesting thought. Anyway, what am I having for lunch today? It doesn't all have to be a massive conversation.
Yeah, I completely agree. How good are you guys at like, integrating what your staff and everybody else has input wise? You know what I mean? Like, are you got like, are you listening to other people's suggestions when it comes to the platform? And also the same question for, you know, the people who use the content. Like, are you guys good at kind of filtering like, hey, this is not a bad idea, we'll take that into consideration? Or do you kind of go with like, we have a plan and an agenda for the year and we're going to execute that and we'll come back to this shit later?
I think we're flexible with those types of plans. And I also think we do weekly company all hands where people are actually
Oh,
allowed to give opinions and comments and questions to executives who answer in real time via an internal live stream, which I think is very cool and
mm.
obviously reflective of what we should be doing, right? Like we should be using live streams to communicate.
Yep.
Um, it's indicative of a culture that says, hey, not everybody has the right solution.
Right.
But if a large portion of staff think something is a problem, that is something we should be paying attention to.
Yeah.
So a comment or a suggestion might not literally be the path the company takes,
Mhm.
but the note that something needs addressing is absolutely something that the company takes seriously. The comments and feedback can also be upvoted, which I think is really cool because you can see if something has hundreds of votes. That's obviously very important to our company and needs to be addressed. So I like that democratic system and
Mhm.
process. I don't think everything always will have the follow up that you'd love to have, which is like 6 months ago, somebody said that this needs to be fixed. And look, we did it. It doesn't usually happen like that. But I do think that the communication is open, which is nice.
How do you guys go about like we were talking about the toxicity thing before, especially on X and Twitter and everything like that. And there seems to be on some of those platforms, especially Facebook too. Like, I mean, I barely use that thing anymore, and it's mostly for my,
Yeah.
you know, aunts and uncles who are posting pictures of like the Virgin Mary cradling Trump. So you
Yeah.
know, like I don't know, but like, are you guys quick to monitor like, you know, either I don't want to say offensive material, but you know, there's that whole
Sure.
talk of free speech and PC shit and yada yada yada, which it is just too like you can see on some of those platforms they don't care because it does
Mm.
buy them. Like, what are the protections that you guys have on that kind of stuff, or is it not? You know, are you like it's up to the people?
Yeah, we've made heavy investments into trust and safety teams, which is how we view safety as a site as a whole. There's like two different avenues for that. One is
Okay.
like, what are the rules, which is a
Right.
whole group of individuals that have to put a lot of energy and research into things. And I'll give you an example of that, which is like AI is becoming more of a topic this
Yeah.
year. Okay, well, a lot of social media platforms don't have rules on AI because it didn't fucking exist. And so we didn't need to discuss it.
Right.
Now there needs to be a lot of discussion over AI. What are the implications of AI? What happens when an AI streamer, which we do have, says something that breaks our TOS?
Right.
What happens when they break TOS, but they were doing it ironically
Right.
because their feed has been ingested because it's AI, that this is something that like a a person would make and they're making fun of that person. How do
Sure.
we know? How do we know the difference? What's the rule here? So section A is what's the rule? And just so you know, the rule is that we cannot determine whether or not someone is being ironic. So if you break our TOS ironically or unironically, you're getting banned because we
Wow.
cannot make that distinction.
Sure.
That's the ultimate decision that was made there. All these have trade-offs, by the way, because like now comedy is harder because you can't pretend to be Trump or like say something that would be like really offensive, right? Like
Right.
you have to toe the line because we can't guarantee that you're being serious or not.
Hmm.
The other half of that is enforcement. So the part of your question is like, how quick are you? Like, how are you
Yeah.
determining these things? When it comes to a live streaming company, which is different than Facebook, which is mostly pre-made content that your grandpa is like reposting
Yeah.
some like really shitty meme.
Right.
That is different. The number one way, because we are monitoring so many hours of live stream content that's happening in real time, right?
Sure.
I'm not going to have, it's not possible, it's not feasible to have 10 million people monitoring 10 million streamers
No.
monthly and
Yeah.
being like, I hope they don't do anything wrong, but I'm ready if they do. We have to have a report system so that the audience can let us know. Our report turnaround time is extremely quick. So
Wow.
once someone hits a report, within 60 seconds, we're usually making an action.
So wait, so when they hit report though, who is seeing that? Is it a person that's working
A
24/7?
person.
Holy shit, that's impressive. I
It is a
really never knew
person.
there were, yeah.
We also utilize AI systems that know that to a certain degree, if something is being reported and there is enough barrier to entry that something has that is bad, and we can
Yeah.
do it with image search. So, for
Okay.
example, let's say someone reports nudity, there's image sourcing materials that can be like, those are boobies, and we can take those down. And I don't need a person to be like, those are boobies. We have technology that can help us and
Okay.
recognize that boobies aren't allowed. Does that
Right.
make sense?
Yeah,
But
no,
we still
absolutely.
use the report function to help us get
Sure.
there. So it's a combination, but absolutely has real human beings that are reviewing reports and
Right.
taking actions. And they work extremely hard.
Yeah.
And when everybody else in on usually in the working world takes their Christmas breaks, our trust and safety teams do not, because
Right.
those types of jobs don't get breaks, because
Sure.
that that is still happening.
I hope those people are paid extremely well, and two, love that because I think there are some jobs that that you should take in the world in general, whether it's in this area or anything else, that you just get paid extremely well, and you know that this is too important to fucking take a break, like, or you need to have the staff to, or the company needs to have the staff to like make sure that everybody's rested and whatever, and it's treated fairly, but. That's the nature of the job. If you want this particular position, you got to sacrifice some shit.
Yeah, you have to have like a real thick skin for it. I do
Yeah.
even know like my team additionally. So I work in community. I mean, we have sessions where we're allowed to like talk about mental health and the way that our
Mm.
job makes us feel, because it is very emotional, and it is taxing. I think there is a labor associated with seeing imagery that upsets you.
Yeah.
And so that happens to that team as well. And they absolutely are offered things to help them with their mental health, because I think it is a tax. I think it is an additional labor.
Right.
So yeah, it's a real person that enacts to make sure that we can have I don't know, just setting the bar for safety is very difficult in a live stream environment. And then
It
to
is.
just reiterate, these jobs didn't exist
Right.
10 years ago. So we're inventing a lot of these roles and determining what the needs are as they come.
Mhm.
The fact that we incorporated mods into the actual structure of Twitch is very innovative, and actually a huge part of what makes our platform function. As
Right.
they're part of our ecosystem. And what's really interesting about that is that you don't see Facebook be like, well, I got like 3 mods on my Facebook channel because like I need we knew that Twitch channels needed to have moderators in order to function. You
Sure.
need to be able to have someone clean up your own chat and your own space, because the way you curate your chat might be different than the way I curate my chat. You
Right.
might allow more jokes about the way you look, or the way, whether or not you're funny. Maybe you like love when people like self-deprecate you a little bit, and maybe I'm like, I
Sure.
don't like that shit and I don't want it in my chat. So I'm able to curate more specifically for the type of community that I want.
Mhm.
And in addition, we get to have a lot of that cleaned up in our own space before it has to get to the level of like a corporation stepping in and being like, we got to get rid of this bozo because he's being really bad in everybody's chat. We're putting a lot of innovation into that space, but the reality is because there's so much content and there's so many people going live. Like again, like
Yeah.
over 8 million people are going live monthly.
I'm glad you said
You
that too
have to
because
have self
yeah.
modding.
Well, so couple things because I definitely want to ask you about more of what you just said about the, so wait, before I forget this point. So it's almost like the same way I was trying to explain this to a guy I was working with in the beginning of what we were doing here, because, some people think any engagement is good engagement, especially in the chat, whatever it is. And like, as a comedian, I don't mind like people making jokes and self-deprecating shit. I do not like when people get aggressive with each other within the chat. I don't like any of the arguing. I don't like any of that kind of shit. I also don't like any misinformation. And
Mm,
one camp is always like any engagement is good engagement. And I'm like,
right.
if you don't curate your audience the same way you don't curate a comedy club audience, you're going to get those people who think it's totally fine to heckle, throw a beer can at the fucking wall, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And there's this cultivation thing. And I think you're right. I think partly it is on the person who is running the thing, but also it is hard to not have to step in every now and again and go like, if people are getting reported, you got to jump in.
You
It's
gotta
such
jump
a
in.
weird line because
Yeah.
but like, so okay, I have friends who are in the world of like sexual education, friends who are sex therapists, yada yada yada, and a lot
Sure.
of problems that they're having on TikTok and Instagram. And I think it's more, actually, I think it may be both equally. And I know you don't know too much about like that, but you're in the world still, you know what I mean? So I hope you don't mind answering this kind of thing. But like, so they were kind of complaining, like, look, we're getting, we can't, we're telling people it's okay to talk about these topics, but at the same
Yeah.
time, we are censored because we have to say segs, or we have to say, even people who talk about mental health can't actually spell out suicide.
Right.
That's like the weird, I agree with them. And I hate that shit, because that's the kind of, quote unquote freedom of speech that I find suffocating from the internet, from that stuff that wasn't around back then. So do you guys struggle with that kind of thing of like, we have to protect people, I guess, from, I don't know, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know
Hmm.
that if you'd see somebody that said suicide or talked about suicide openly,
Sure.
that they would go ahead and do it. But I know that that seems to be this thing that has to get demonetized or slashed or whatever the hell it is. So how do you guys personally on Twitch like figure that out? Like, do you,
Yeah. I think it's a good question. And I don't think it has a very simple answer, because what you're talking about is very nuanced. And
yeah,
so it's not going to be as simple as saying, like, we demonetize it if you say it. That's not true. I don't think we do things like that. I don't think we even have like gray lists where it's like, this person makes spicier content, so don't put them in the I don't think we do things like that. I think we are nuanced beings, and streaming is very much about the gray area.
hmm,
I would suspect that many of our commentary streamers, or just chatting streamers, which is our largest category right now. It's bigger than gaming. Just chatting is our largest category.
yeah,
Yes, they are allowed to say words that you probably can't say on other platforms. You are allowed to talk about suicide or sexual assault. You have to, in
hmm,
order to speak on the topics that you are speaking about.
yeah,
Now, there are multiple ways that you can monetize when you're a streamer. Some of them are through bits and subs, which is like our Twitch primary, or advertising revenue, which is our primary method of monetization. And we do not harm people based on the content that they're making, provided they don't break TOS. And it does not break TOS to say those words.
great.
Threatening is
Oh
breaking
yeah, yeah,
TOS. So you can utilize them in a way that would break TOS,
sure.
but talking about those topics do not break our TOS. Now, when it could hurt a creator is the second major way that a lot of creators make money is sponsorships, stream elements, or a Bud Light sponsorship, right? And so they're working with you. Is Chester Cheeto going to want to like sponsor something where you're talking about assault? Probably not, And so like
Yeah,
those are things that can impact you. Twitch is not involved in that type of negotiation or conversation.
gotcha.
We uplift all sorts of I again, like I have to say, like Hassan is a really good example of that, because he talks about really controversial things.
Yeah,
Um, he's not breaking our TOS by talking about extremely controversial topics and subjects that are genuinely impactful and important to people. But again, you're not making some like spicy 30-second reel to get clicks when you're
sure.
on Twitch. You have to talk about that content for like 10 to 30 minutes to hours.
Yeah,
So when we are talking about extremely nuanced conversations, usually you're just not getting yourself in a gotcha situation. You have to
right.
be able to explain it and discuss it at length. So I think we kind of circumvent some of that, as opposed to like I think of like a Instagram reel, which is
Yeah,
just like, how are you able to get all of the important content in that 60-second video? It's very difficult to do.
absolutely. And I'm so glad we talked about that too, because that's the impression that I got. I don't know the ins and outs of it, but whenever I'm on Twitch, whenever I'm, watching and doing that stuff, I'm always kind of curious, like, how are they are they risking monetization? Are they just like, I don't care, I need to get this messaging out there? Because I've directed some people just to check it out, just to go to Twitch and be like, you're probably better off than anything, especially YouTube too. Like, YouTube will block stuff for no reason. You can't get in touch with anybody. It's hard to get your stuff back into a position where it can be monetized without,
Sure.
you're always fighting views versus, oh, I got flagged and now I've got to take this thing down and put it back. It sucks, but I think you guys kind of handle it really well, so it's
There's no perfect platform, and there's no perfect exception to the rule. I absolutely
mhm,
think there's times and situations where a creator is like, I got flagged or I got taken down and it was incorrect. It was a
Sure.
mistake. And we have a system where we should be able to look at that and correct those types of mistakes from time to time. I actually interacted with someone on Twitter recently who was like, my account got flagged and I've done nothing wrong. And you said it's because I'm like making content for minors, and that like is really offensive to me. I looked into it, and they like raise money for charity, and they play like songs, often like more like younger audience songs. And it's like,
Mhm.
there's nothing wrong with this content. This poor person has been like accused of some heinous shit.
Right.
And we righted the wrong and like made sure to do
Nice.
right by this creator. So, mistakes happen. I'm not like saying that we don't make those mistakes. I just think that if you're going to have a platform that allows creators to talk about really intense subject matter, you have to be able to let them say those words. What I will say is we encourage people to have mature flags on their content. So we really do encourage anyone who's talking about that kind of stuff to have an 18 plus limitation on their
Mhm.
channel so that minors can't watch it. That seems really reasonable.
Yeah.
And we'll be doing more enforcement in that, and in the future to essentially say like, hey, this seems like mature content. You need to have the mature filter on there.
Right.
That seems like a valid step for us to take.
And I want to just also, while we're on here doing this kind of thing, just thank you, because so I host that MS benefit every year. I would not be able
Yeah.
to do it 24 hours without Twitch, and without, you guys make it easy to get that content back for us to spread the word and keep making video content out of the 24 hours. But, my buddy Greg, who's a producer on the show, I've known him, we've known each other forever, was like, on a whim, contacted you on Twitter. This is when I was like, oh my God, this girl's amazing, because she is like, I
Thank
don't
you.
know how because I didn't even know it was happening the first year it happened. But he just was like, I know she's a great Twitch, platformer. She works there, blah, blah, blah. Like, she's great on social media. Maybe she'll see this. And you donated, or you had Twitch donate $1,000 to the
Yes.
National MS Society. We were like, just beside, it was like so exciting. And plus, like, getting that kind of thing gets everybody going, because I think it was in like a late hour. And you wound up helping us out again this year when we reached out to you. So just super nice to charities, super nice to us. The 24-hour thing is like, it's not 24 for me. It's 36 hours I'm awake, because I'm still preparing stuff like the next
Yeah.
day, fielding phone calls. So like, just to have Twitch, you guys are so accessible, and that's one of the things I appreciate, because it is hard to get anything out there that you're doing, even if you're doing something extremely well. And you guys were quick, and you're always so just wanted to thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I mean, you're the one doing the work. You are the one staying up for 36 hours for a charity that you believe in, that is
Mhm.
important to you, and you're putting in a lot of energy, and your viewers are watching it and they're donating. And something
Yeah.
that we've recognized in the last, well, at least as long as I've worked here for, which is like 7.5 years now, which is crazy, is that I have never seen a better format for raising money for charity in my life.
Yeah.
It is so much better than Jump Rope for the Heart. I
Yeah.
cannot tell you how much this drives people to actually donate, because you
Mhm.
can see in real time how it impacts
Yeah.
you, the person who this is meaningful to you. This is what
Mhm.
you care about. So it's lovely for the people to be able to interact with you and raise money. You can also raise awareness. I was very honored to help work on Twitch's new charity program, which is our way of giving back to creators like yourself who are raising money for good causes and just doing good with your platform.
Sweet.
It has been wonderful to essentially uplift people just like yourself, or organizations like the American Heart Association or St. Jude, who
Nice.
does incredible stuff for people. And so a part of that program is being able to uplift people through promotion or the occasional Twitch dollars, which I love. I love spending Twitch dollars for a good cause. So,
Yeah.
I mean, no complaints for me. I think it's actually probably the outside of partnering people, which is super fun. I would say the highlight of my job is going into a stream where someone is raising money and giving them that edge to hit that goal, giving them
Yes.
that $500 or that $1,000 so that they can hit their goal. It means a lot to them. It is the least we can do, quite frankly, and it's a joy. So
Yeah.
I love that was meaningful to you. It's
Oh,
one of my favorite parts of my job.
It was seriously like, we still talk about it too, because it was just one of those, it's a memorable moment. It's one of those things where the people watching get excited, they get more involved, like,
Everyone
you
gets
know,
stoked.
oh
It's so
yeah.
exciting. I love
And
it. I want to do more stuff like that with like partnerversaries and like
yeah,
when people when it's their birthday. I look for stuff like that on Twitter. Like every once in a while someone will be like, "It's my 30th birthday. Like, I'm gonna go live. Like, we'll see if anyone gives a shit." And I'll go in there and I'll donate as Twitch. And they'll be
yeah.
like, "This is impossible." And it's just like, it's totally possible. It's totally possible for Twitch to know that it's your birthday or that's your
Yeah,
partnerversary. Like, you deserve that excitement. And
sure.
I think it's really fun to do.
Again, it's a testament to the community, because I mean, the other thing too, like, I remember, you know, reading through those chats and stuff like that, and having, and Greg was great at this when he was on there this past year, engaging with everybody, because everybody that was watching wound up donating something, anything. They kept up with us. People love to
Aww.
stay up for 24 hours. But the cool thing was too, is like the way we build those you know um the charity shows or whatever, the 24-hour thing is, usually I set it up into blocks, and like just getting feedback from people who are from another country, from another place, and being like, I would have never been able to see this. I have MS, yada yada. This is very meaningful to me. Like, we had a 90s alt rock hour at one point. It was just Bare Naked Ladies, Toe the Wet Sprocket, Gin Blossoms, and yeah, fuck. So fuck, I can't remember them. Oh, Sister Hazel, Ken Block from Sister Hazel, and somebody, like, people in the chat would not have been able to see it. They're like, I don't even, like, I can't even believe this is happening. And then the Gin Blossoms did a live song thing. They did 6 acoustic songs, which another thing too is, you guys don't really fuck around. Like, you made that possible. Like, it's not like anything got interrupted or banned or anything like that. They were able to play their music. Where I feel like any other platform, it would have been way too hard and way too difficult to pull off. So can't thank you guys enough for that. I mean, I feel like that's just, uh, a testament to who you guys are.
I'm glad we're putting a lot of energy this year. So it's always like, that's always the question, right? It's like, where are you putting your energy? Like, where are you putting your time? And one of the big things this year is music, and specifically music license rights for DJs. The biggest problem we've seen is, especially for DJs who are literally playing copyrighted music, that's what they do.
Yeah.
Don't have a home. They play music until they get banned or they get copyright
Right.
infringed and flagged. There's no home for DJs. This is like the first time that we were able to essentially secure music licensing rights so that DJs can play copywritten music legally and make money off of it, which is really exciting. So that's been a huge focus of ours. That also opens up the door for us to have more conversations with music license rights, to say, like, we were able to do that. Let's make a deal for covers. Let's make a deal for other musicians that want to be able to play music that would otherwise have been copywritten. So I think it's a really cool step in the right direction, because, as you said, gaming it is our bread and butter. It is our biggest piece of the pie, but we are watching it absolutely start to, it's just becoming less and less of like what people are watching. We are watching people play just chatting and music, and DJs are growing like a weed, and it's just really exciting to see it in that space. So I'm for it. I think that TV is better with chat. So I would rather watch all my content with chat, quite frankly. I would have loved to watch Game of Thrones with chat.
Oh my God, absolutely. Especially
Could you imagine the Red Wedding with chat? Like,
that would have
could you
been fucking nuts.
imagine?
Absolutely. And it wasn't like anybody didn't go online immediately afterward to engage in chat in some, like,
Totally, we're doing it.
Yeah, exactly. So just have it at the same time. I would kill to have had somebody in that 8th season, like, just other than just because my friends and I were texting each other, but that was such a garbage fucking season. Like, just to have everybody ripping on it would have felt cathartic. Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been really interesting. I think I've always felt that the content that we're ingesting is, we're social creatures. We don't want to just ingest it in a silo. You want to be able to share your opinion. That's why Twitter exists. That's why all these places exist, that you can say, like, didn't that suck? Doing it in real time is special.
Yes.
It is special. There's a reason that why every time there's an earthquake, you go to Twitter, because everyone's like, we are going to watch this flood our feed in real time. That is amazing. That was very interesting.
Yep.
That's what only happens on Twitch, which is like, you are watching somebody talk about something or do something, and in real time, all this chat is saying, I hate it. And I love that. I love that people can say, I don't like this. I don't like your face, and post.
I get that a lot. What drove you to this in the first place? I mean, like, is this something that, like, kind of caught your eye like early on, like coming up or whatever? Like, was this a passion of yours? Like what? Because this is taxing. It's not like it's, I mean, you're involved in it and you seem very passionate about it. And you obviously, like you said, you would love a chat when you're watching TV too. But what was the thing? Do you remember that you were like, this is what I want to do. This is what I'll be working in.
This is like the future.
Yeah.
I
Because people think goggle, the Meta shit's the future, which I don't know or not, but I have one, and I cannot tell you how frustrating it is for me. It breaks me.
I want it to be the future, and I believe vehemently when it comes to Meta. I believe that VR will become a pinnacle of like you and me when we're like 80 and enfeebled and are like, but I want to ride my bike to the pier and have a beer. We will do it in VR, and I will see you there, and we will be partying in a different virtual reality. I think that will be like our generation's retirement. Will be like we're in VR, absolutely having like these wild ragers, but we're also just sitting here.
It's gonna be great when we're like ready to go, sitting in a hospital bed, and I'm gonna have my VR goggles on. Like you're gonna be monitoring the heart thing, like beep,
and like logged in.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'm like
exactly.
Level 280, and I'm like an archer, or some shit. I think like that will have its time to come, but I just don't think it's in the next 5 years.
Right.
When you ask me like what got me excited about this, I have been a gamer most of my life, and I got a job at GameSpot. I was a video producer, so I would make the videos that were in conjunction with a reviewer's video game review. So when they reviewed Skyrim, I was the one who was like, this is the shot that needs to be with this review, right? Like was my job, and I loved it. What I got addicted to at GameSpot was live streaming GameSpot's first review access of a game. We would often get games a little earlier than the general audience, and we would be able to stream it a little earlier. When we got these opportunities to stream a game live, I could not believe how enigmatic it was to be able to share this experience with an audience at home and see their reactions live while we were playing something that we all wanted to touch. We all wanted our hands on this game.
Right.
When Kojima announced that he was making PT,
okay,
and I think this happened during E3, maybe a PlayStation summit. It's all jumbled. But the point is he was like, here's a new demo. It's called PT. It's live right now. Our team was set up and ready to go. And we're like, hey, we're playing this game in 5 minutes. Go sit down and play it.
Right.
I play this game demo live for a live audience. Not everybody is set up to play this game. Not everybody's ready to go, but they can turn on this live stream and experience with me in real time together. This game is scary as fuck. It's absolutely horrifying. We're all screaming together. And I think it was somewhere around that moment where I was like, the future is not pre-packaged content of my opinion about this game. The future of content is that when something drops, that we watch it live and talk about it together and discuss whether or not we liked it. That is interesting to me. And I became kind of obsessed with the idea that everything that I wanted was just better when I was sharing it live with another person. Like that was it for me. I started going live on my own personal channels. I joined some clubs, some streaming clubs, and an opportunity for like a video producer came up at Twitch, and I was like, I gotta try it. And I ended up getting the gig. My original job at Twitch was producing E3 and TwitchCon live shows. So when Twitch went live on twitch.tv/Twitch, I produced that content. And I loved it. And I really enjoyed it. But after like 2 years of doing that and kind of like being more into the technical aspects of the job, I was like operating TriCasters and like actually writing the run of shows. I realized what I was really interested in was finding ways to help the community find each other and grow their live streams. I ended up changing jobs entirely at Twitch. I moved to a totally different team called Community. And within about 5 years, we grew the team, and I basically oversee that team now, making programs like the charity program, but we have like 5 other programs, including guilds, which is like our way for like women, Black, and Hispanic creators to find each other and basically network and enjoy each other's company. That's what I do now. It's
Sweet.
like streamers find other streamers, creators find your favorite streamer, streamers like grow your community, things like that. And that's kind of why I'm so addicted and so into it now. But I think it all spawned from doing a live stream and being like, this shit is ridiculously fun. It is so crazy that we're all screaming at the same time. Like, how cool is that? It's just so cool.
Yeah, you are like extremely passionate, and it's fucking contagious. And you like jack me up. Like I'm like
I'm
on positive
freaking
overload.
weird about it.
It's awesome. It's awesome. I'm so glad we did this in the middle of the day, because now I feel like I can go face the rest of the day. I'm going to ask you the last 3 questions that I ask every guest on the show.
Sure.
So if you go back in time and talk to your younger self, what piece of advice would you give yourself that would help you today?
Oh, these questions are tough because generally speaking, I always like to say that everything that I learned, because I fucked up when I was a kid, and I fucked up a lot when I was a kid because I was a little rapscallion and I was always trying to get into stuff, and I was really bad and I got fired from like a lot of jobs. I learned lessons with all those fuck ups. So I wouldn't alter anything about my childhood. I want me to have that grit and like me being that little brat for like 5 years, because that all kind of built me into what I am. What I like to say to people who were at that age that needed that advice, if I could, would probably be, it really genuinely does get better. Don't let something that breaks you when you're in your teenage years or your 20s, don't let that be what defines you, because like your best years are yet to come. We build. And my life has been in constant excellence. My teen years were a waste, like in the toilet, flushed. I did not function very well as a teen.
Wow.
In my 20s, I started growing and like building. And in my 30s, I feel like I fucking found myself. You can do it too, and it's never too late. And you can find yourself in your 40s, and you can like discover exactly what you want to be in your 50s. It's not too late. So like my advice is universal, which is like, it ain't over. Like, figure it out. You have lots of time.
Holy shit. That was great. Okay, awesome. I'll cut out myself saying holy shit, but what I shouldn't act surprised that the guest has wisdom. I feel like that's a bad part of my end. But yeah, no, that was fucking awesome, dude. Okay, so next question. What had to end in your life, good or bad, that led you where you are today?
Ooh, that's really interesting. End.
Yeah.
End. Let me have a think.
Sure.
I wonder like if I take this more literally in terms of like my job or my personal life. Like I think some things that had to end was I had to stop playing it safe. I was absolutely staying in Ohio, which is where I was raised, because it was near both of my parents. And I knew that if I, lost my job, they would let me move in with them. In fact, I did in my 20s. I removed in with my dad for like 6 months to get my shit together. Like it happened. And I think there was some point probably in like when I was like 24, 25, I don't remember, where I basically was like, I have to make a huge risk and I have to stop like thinking what happens when I fail.
Wow.
And I think that resulted in me moving to California, like so many people do, with only the shit that was in my trunk.
Yep.
And making the decision that I needed to take the risk and decide that it is possible for me to fail, and that's okay.
Beautiful.
And I think that was the best decision I ever made. And I also left my family behind, and now I only see them like once a year, which sucks, but like that's the trade-off. And so I think something that had to end was my reliance on my fear, essentially, that, I could fail. And so I needed to stay near my family or people that could help me. And I did it. And I think other people can do it too. And if you are bored or you're tired and you're sitting around saying the same stuff, like put a bunch of shit in the trunk of your car and go somewhere. I think it was really good for me. So I had to say goodbye to a lot when I did that. And I think it was a good decision.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And it's so funny too, because our generation is somehow far more connected. So when you said I only see your parents once a year, every time I talk to somebody who was like, in a band, super famous or whatever, and they started in the 60s or 70s, they're like, I left at 18 and I never saw my parents until I was 38, and you're just like, what the fuck, man? Like, how is that
relationship with my parents?
Yeah. I'm like, did they know you left? And like, they had no idea. I was
They're
a grown
gone.
man. Yeah, exactly.
I talk to my family. I have good relationships with my family, but I think I gave up the ability to be there constantly and consistently. I am extremely grateful. I just want to say that my sister decided to have 2 children because it took a lot of pressure off of me. My parents have their grandbabies. They have, if they want to see kids and like watch a family in bloom, they have that avenue.
Yeah.
It ain't for me. I have my own vision and I have my own dreams. And so like I chased my dreams. And, you know, for other people who are like, but my dream is a family, that's awesome.
Right.
Like, go have that. I think the whole point of this is you should be able to choose.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Last question ties into the show. It's called Dystopia Tonight, obviously. So if this was a genuine dystopia, you woke up tomorrow and you found out everybody's last day on Earth. It's a twofold question. What do you think would be the cause? Do you think it would be, and it's what you want it to be. So is it going to be a political collapse, climate change, a comet, could be aliens, could be a zombie thing, some kind of Last of Us disease? And what's going to be your epic death? How you want to go out?
Oh gosh. Okay. This is really, this is such a depressing last question. And I love it. Cause I love it. You were like, it can be anything you want. It could be, it could be war. It could be famine. What do you want the world
How
to
do
be?
you want to fucking die?
I believe that the world will collapse because we are harming the environment to such an extreme degree that what will happen is we will continue to raise temperatures and places will become inhospitable, and then humans will fight over the hospitable places. And so I think it will be a mix of environmentalism and war, because people will essentially say, I gotta have the colder places, get out of there, and then we'll go to war and then we'll nuke each other. So I think it'll be like probably nukes. That's really sad. But that will happen before we starve to death. People will kill each other before they starve to death.
Absolutely. 100%. And what's your epic death? How you going out?
I will probably be stabbing a bunch of people for canned peas. And at some point, someone will get me. Because I can't get lucky forever.
Oh my God, that's great. And you'll be streaming it live. So that is, you'll have one of those things that people wrap around their chests where they like follow them around. You have a can of peas. It'll be awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. I absolutely love talking to you. Oh yeah, it was a fucking blast. You're an amazing person.
Dystopia Tonight.